My name is Joy. I am a UCSB class of 2020 alum who double majored in global studies and French. I studied abroad in Dakar, Senegal, and Paris, France, and I am currently teaching English abroad through the Teaching Assistant Program in France, also known as TAPIF. So I found out about TAPIF through my study abroad program. One of the directors of the Institute for Field Education mentioned TAPIF in passing. He was kind of joking with a friend and I that we would be back to live in France eventually, and then suggested that we look into TAPIF. As for why I chose my program, my goal with going abroad after UCSB was to continue to develop my foreign language skills, and so I chose French when I was a college freshman because it's very geographically diverse. It's one of the 5 languages of the United Nations, and it's also one of the languages of diplomacy. So my goal in participating in TAPIF was to continue to expand my French language skills and eventually gain certification that evaluates my French acquisition skills. So I took 4 years of French language classes at UCSB, was a French double major, and having studied abroad in Dakar, and especially having interned and conducted research in Paris, I had a decent level of French when I got back to Paris in the fall of 2020. I will say that being at UCSB my final year, not really using my French, I had lost a bit of it, but it came back within the first few weeks of being here, especially being forced to use it in my everyday interactions with people. I also had a bit of teaching experience, having taken several classes through UCSB's education department and having volunteered with Isla Vista Tutors working with a child in elementary school. And then, of course, working for UCSB's Education Abroad program, where I was charged with regularly making presentations on study abroad and working with students. So I did have a bit of public speaking and teaching experience, but despite that, I would say that working with kids, I work in a middle school, so working with adolescents is very different from working with university students or high school students. So it was definitely a process of learning how to engage with them and learning what interested them. I think for me, the biggest challenge has been learning what interests them the most and then kind of gauging that, kind of working towards that. TAPIF does not require any kind of certification. However, it's something that can only boost your application and your chances of getting in. As for the application process, basically you rank 3 cities in France, 3, not cities, but regions rather, 3 regions in France, and then you submit a letter of motivation entirely in French. You submit a CV, a resume, also in French, and then you're also required to submit 2 letters of recommendation, 1 professional and 1 linguistic. So you'll want to choose someone who can attest to your French language skills because you are required to have at least an intermediate level of French when you enter the program. So that's what the application process is like. On top of foreign language skills, I would say that I also learned a lot related to communication and kind of altering my communication based on the audience that I'm speaking with, because as I mentioned previously, a lot of my previous public speaking experience was geared towards students at the university level, and you just can't talk to middle schoolers who are in the process of learning a language the way you would speak to university students. So I learned how to really slow down and be more engaging and ask them questions that they would want, I learned how to give them a reason to speak and participate. So that was a big one. And then I would say, finally, another skill that I really learned is how to talk about the United States in a tactful way and respond to questions about American policies or traditions or social issues in a way that is tactful, but also honest and true to myself and my perspective as an American woman who comes from California. My advice for students who are seeking to obtain experience abroad after UCSB is to go for it, but also just to remember to be your own advocate, because sometimes teaching English abroad can come with significantly less structure than a study abroad program would. So just towards that end, asking for help when you need it, relying on the resources that are available to you, and overall, just being your own advocate.